How are you? My name is Michael Williams, founder of the Start Speaking Training Center. So let me ask you a question. How do you stop stuttering and start speaking more fluently? Well, you use the D.A.M strategy. And no, I'm not cursing at you. The D.A.M strategy is actually an approach. It's a strategy that you can use to not only overcome what I call situational stuttering, but also to overcome fear of public speaking. Believe it or not, I did used to stutter. I stuttered all through my childhood and well into adulthood, well into my 20s. In fact, into my 20s and probably even my early 30s. And so I kind of came to a head in my life when there was a time when I was extremely unhappy in my career, and I started to do some self-reflection and ask myself, what do I really want to do? Because this isn't it. And what I came up with after some introspection and some reflection and some prayer and research, I decided that the direction that I wanted to go had to do with speaking in public. And I was like, wow, well, I'm not going to be able to do that because I stutter. And so finally it became clear that if you want to be happy and you want to be productive, you're going to have to find a way to what? Overcome stuttering. So I stumbled upon this strategy, if you will, and I used it to go from stuttering and not being able to speak in public to earning my living speaking in public in various ways. So what is the D.A.M strategy about? So I'll just give you a brief overview and tell you why it really does work. And I'll also share with you some things that you need to keep in mind so that it's successful for you. One, the D.A.M strategy is a very simple system, if you will, to understand. It's challenging to implement because it takes time and discipline, but anything in life that's really worth it is going to take some time and it's going to take some discipline. So the strategy has to do with you taking a look at why you really want to start speaking more fluently. Now, why is that important? It's critical because you're going to need to be motivated and stay motivated to stick with the system. So if you're not motivated, you're going to give up, right? So part of the strategy is figuring out why you really want to do it and making sure that that reason stays at the top of your mind, that you're constantly reminding yourself, this is why I'm doing this. The second part of this strategy has to do with changing how you think about yourself and changing what you say to yourself. What happens is people who stutter or people who have a severe fear of public speaking, they believe that they are stutterers. That is, it's not something that they do, they believe it's who they are, or they believe that they have this fear of public speaking, that they're not going to be able to do it. So what we do is we have to change that by reprogramming ourselves, by learning a new way of thinking, a new way of speaking about ourselves. So what I used to do is tell myself, I'm an excellent speaker, I'm a great speaker, until I actually started to believe that. Many people have told me that just that one step has allowed them to start feeling more confident and speaking more fluently. Now, the other part of this is not just doing affirmations, but it's also practicing speaking by yourself. Why by yourself? Because the vast majority of people who stutter don't stutter when they're by themselves. They stutter in certain situations. So using that time by yourself to practice speaking fluently actually is a time of learning a new pattern of speaking. So as you learn this and as you affirm it, it becomes a part now of who you are, right? So as you practice speaking fluently, you are learning how to speak fluently. Does that make sense? As you practice typing, you will begin to type more fluently. Someone says, well, yeah, I can speak fluently by myself, but not in public. Well, the affirmations and the practice sessions, along with what we call modeling, that is finding someone that you admire how they speak and actually almost taking on their persona, taking on characteristics of how they speak and using that for yourself, is a very effective way to overcome stuttering. Why? Because it distracts you. You're no longer thinking about yourself or that you're going to stutter. You're actually kind of taking on that person's character or characteristics, if you will. So you're distracting yourself from yourself. An excellent way to stop stuttering. Actors who stutter don't stutter when they're acting. Why? Because of this principle. Okay? So that's a general overview of the strategy. There's a lot more to it, and that's why you have to take a look at the actual program itself. This program has helped hundreds, if not thousands of people, some of who I will never know about, but there's also people who it hasn't helped, and part of the reason is that they haven't plugged into the program, they've used part of it, or they've quit. They said, oh, this isn't working, because they didn't use the whole program or they didn't do it on a regular basis. How long will it take? It's up to you. For some people, 6 months. For me, it took 6 months to see a difference. Then it took another year or two to really see a huge, tremendous difference in the way that I spoke. It took a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, before I no longer thought of myself as a stutterer. So you got to be willing to invest at least 6 months, probably up to 2 to 3 years. But so what? 6 months, 2 to 3 years is going to go by anyway. The only question is, will you be a better speaker at the end of that time? Or will you still be looking around and trying this and trying that and still stuttering? That's the only question. I want to thank you for taking the time to check this out, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. May you be blessed. My name is Michael Williams, founder of the Start Speaking Training Center.